different, and I don't know if our Brazilian friends are out here in the audience or not, but they were talking about substantially smaller crops in Brazil going forward. 365 million, I would call kind of an average crop in São Paulo over the last 10 or so years. Not the big decrease that some people were talking about. And so now we got a problem because CITRUS then funded the storage of juice to bring juice out of 11-12 into 12-13. We now have a pretty sizable crop here in Brazil again in 12-13 because USDA has reported a smaller inventory, but we'll visit this some more in a second. There are several reports coming out of Brazil, and I just heard them here again this morning, however, that processors are only processing fruit from groves that they own. Remember, they own about a third of the groves in Brazil. And also then that fruit that they have obligated to process for long-term contracts. There's been no spot purchase of at least early maturing fruit. And now that we're here into August, late August, middle of August, we're now actually getting through the early mid-period into their para, which is, of course, is a big variety of boxes. Okay, now. Okay, now I know Lisa's point. Now, of course, with two screens, this is always really easy. But let's look across there at the top first. Inventories are always, notice imports really haven't been doing anything. Carbendazim is probably part of what kept that number down in 11-12. But then also notice this movement number. We've heard a lot about movement and decreased consumption of orange juice in the U.S. in 11-12. But they certainly accumulated a fair bit of inventory between 11-12 and then coming into this present season. Remember, we've got reports that 334 is actually too small, that number ought to be more like. Notice that we were up in availability last year, but prices actually went up in Florida because of carbendazim, and we really should have seen a little weaker price last year, and we didn't. So, jeopardy of not being harvested. And the argument is it's about a third, a third, and a third. They own about a third, they have about a third.
And most importantly, drinking orange juice will help you enjoy your day, however you want
So again, just a part of the public relations effort, get that video out there.
So, but with the mechanical harvesters going through at pretty intense levels, it can cause a lot of problems with tree damage. It can also cause problems with debris and loads, and we'll talk about that.
Our lighting system, some paras dropping the ground. I got a question from a reporter recently.
It's not an easy tree, and the industry has to decide when it's going to transition, how it's going to transition, and that's something that doesn't happen because you just have to figure it happens over time. And we believe that we've been believers from the really
12 months, 15 months, and we're going to keep this project going for about four years, and look at what the results are in 4 years, and does this continue to hold true in this particular setting. So again, I'll just kind of break up that potential for resistance development in the body. So that's going to be crucial for your tree management programs. So, I suppose we're thinking CRDF for funding that's paying making all this work possible, also lab members.
Thanks, Michael. I can't promise to give you 95% of information like Michael did, but what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to tie in
from RNA or DNA. It's isolated. But the definition also of deep sequencing, rather than sit here and go into this too intensely, but it's not dependent on any prior sequence information. And with blight, I think it's a situation where we don't have any sequence information for what the causal agent is in the trees. So instead, you get information, especially from RNA species in the sample, and then start putting that together and trying to determine what that sequence means and what that sequence aligns up to with as far as pathogen goes. And I'll show you not only in this presentation about blight, but I'm also just talking on the process, and I'll show you some information on the process on how we use deep sequencing. He's found, and they're most prevalent in the infected leaf stem and roots, and he's found these epiphytes, but there's been no dominant one species of bacteria found in blight-affected trees. The interesting part here on the twig sample, you can see these brown-looking, corky-looking lesions. These were once chlorotic. They then turn brown and kind of get erupted, and they almost look like cancer. They look pretty close, but it's all the fruit, you get the lesions on fruit, they turn brown like this, and this fruit, as far as fresh fruit, would be totally unusable. It doesn't affect much of the interior of the fruit. However, the situation is that if you get the fruit affected on the peduncle or even the leaves on the petiole, doing some next generation sequencing with 3 different systems. I'm not going to go into each of those systems, but there are 3 different types of systems that are different in the way they do the sequencing.
Estamos aqui participando do CITRUS EXPO em Fort Myers, na Flórida. A Fertitrading está aqui para aprender e observar o que há de novas tecnologias, o que está acontecendo com os mercados, o que está sendo feito para melhorar a qualidade e a produtividade da produção de laranjas e de citros na Flórida e nos Estados Unidos. Tem sido um grande aprendizado do que está acontecendo nos mercados, do que está acontecendo na área de produção e das expectativas que tem para o futuro da indústria da laranja. A Fertitrading espera com esta visita poder aprender mais para poder servir melhor ao nosso cliente produtor.